So just before lunchtime, we had our speaker from DO Accounting Services, again representing our tax agent community and what tax agents do. We had our friend from Number One Super, Business Development Officer. I hope participants you picked up a few things, especially with one of our big super funds, the options available for you, for those that are still in formal employment and want to retire. Don't withdraw all our savings. No, some can go to the RSA account. So you still receive it on either fortnightly or monthly basis. And their Choice Super is a very good product for the MSME. MSME, once we register a small business and we employ people to work for us, either on a casual basis, permanent or on contract, there is the you can also inquire with them and at least have a few deduction of whatever the amount that you are, will be paying to them. Can make a deduction to the super fund. So after they work for our small business for a year or two, and if they do decide to call it quits or malolo liglig, they can at least have access to that superannuation being saved by you. You are doing right by them. Think we will start. Time will not wait for us. We'll again, the afternoon session will be on DLED presentation. DLED, Debt Enforcement Lodgement Division. So we'll have Miss Kaya Fabila. They'll introduce themselves and what they do. They'll cover through the presentation. So Miss Kaya will go through payment plans, extension requests, how to file and pay to the IRC briefly. Thank you. Please make welcome Miss Kaya.
What do I do with it? Why can't I see? I'll help you with it. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, I'll introduce myself. My name is Kaya Fabila, as mentioned already. I am the Director of Early Collections within the Debt and Lodgement Enforcement Division in IRC. Okay. During my presentation, I will be covering 3 topics. These are filing and payment requirements, the debt and lodgement enforcement process, and the third one is certificate of compliance. Okay.
This one, point to your slightly up here, and then it goes to the next slide for you. Try again.
Sorry. No, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, the first topic, as I said, is on filing and payment requirements. Okay. Oh. All right, there we go. If you can remember, at the very start of the awareness, there was a presentation on TIN registrations. Okay? That's where your tax obligations start. As soon as you get a TIN registration, your tax obligations for filing and payment, they start from the date that you register with the IRC. Okay, when you get your TIN registration. Up there, okay, on the screen are the filing due dates and payment due dates. and they are for the core tax types. Okay, there are other tax types, but we will only look at the core tax types here. The first one is salary and wages tax. Okay, this is a monthly tax, and you are required to lodge S2 form or a group remittance form on the 7th day of the following month. Okay, and the payment is also due on the same day. Okay, so you lodge and you pay whatever tax is due on the same day. The second one is business payment tax. That falls due, the return and the payment fall due on the 14th day of the following month. For GST or goods and services tax, the return and the payment fall due on the 21st day of the following month. Okay, and all other withholding taxes are also on the 21st day of the following month or whenever the transactions are made. Okay, we're referring to withholding, interest withholding or dividend withholding taxes. They're all due on the 21st of the following month. Okay, and then we have our corporate income tax, which is the return is due on the 28th of February following year. So for 2022 year of income, the return is required to be lodged on the 28th of February 2023. Okay, the due date of payment is 30 days after the notice of assessment has been issued to the taxpayer. Okay, I'm clear. And same goes with personal income tax. Okay, they're both due on the 28th of February, and the payments are due after the 30 days from the date the notice of assessment is issued to the taxpayer. I'm clear. Okay, so, sorry, I'll just go back. So this filing and payment requirements, when you register with the IRC and then you are given a TIN, say for instance, if I register today, okay, depending on the type of business that you run, the IRC will open or create tax accounts for the tax types that you are liable for. Okay, so for a sole trader, the tax accounts, the core tax accounts that will be created for you will be the personal income tax if I am a sole trader. Okay? And then if I run a business like construction company where I will be needing employees to do the work for me, then a salary wages tax account will be open under my TIN. So I am liable for those two tax types. Okay, so as soon as I register, I have to comply from that day onwards to these requirements, the filing and the payment requirements. So if I register today and I'm given a PIT tax account and a salary wages tax account, I have to lodge the first salary wage tax return next month on the 7th day. Okay? Sometimes when you register, the business is not operating yet. The law, the Income Tax Act law still requires you because you already have a TIN registration. When we process your TIN registrations, they are captured in the tax system. And the system will monitor or track whether you have started lodging your returns from the date of registration. Okay, so it's very important that you take note of your filing and payment requirements. It starts from the date of registration. Okay, sometimes we get into situations that are beyond our control, and taxpayers are not able to meet those deadlines. or the due dates. If you come across such situations where you are not able to lodge your return on the required due dates, then you have the right under the Income Tax Act to request for a payment extension or a payment agreement. Okay? How do you do that? The request for extension for payment or payment agreement. Extension meaning you will be given a date, okay, in the future to lodge your return or pay. Okay, a payment agreement is when you go into an agreement with IRC to pay your debts in installments, monthly installments for an agreed period of time. Okay, so how do you apply for that? You must put your request in writing and you must state your reasons. Now, based on the reasons that you give in your letter, the Commission will then agree or they will not agree to allow you to go on into a payment agreement, depending on the reasons that you give. Okay, so there's an approval process for that. Okay, apart from the letter of request, you must provide your bank statement. Okay, if you have insufficient funds, you have to prove that by providing your bank statement so the IRC knows that you have a genuine reason. Okay, and you also include the proposal for installment payment schedule. Okay, apart from that, you make an initial payment of 20% of the debt amount. Okay, and you must also get a bank standing order. Okay, that's for payment. For filing or lodgement extension, you do the same. You request in writing, state your reasons, and include your proposal for the lodgement schedule, and you must make the payment of the estimated taxes that you will be paying when you lodge the returns. Okay, so the law allows you to request for extensions, and they will be considered based on the reasons that you provide to the IRC and the evidences or supporting documents that you provide to the IRC. Okay, penalties. Penalties apply when the lodgement or the payment is overdue. Okay, for late payment penalty, that is automated. Okay, so it's automatically calculated by the system. So if you come along with a salary wage tax payment, after the 7th day of the month, the system will automatically generate penalties for the number of days that the payment was made late. And those are the calculations. For income tax or the other types of taxes, it's 20% flat rate. That's 20% of the tax that's outstanding, tax amount. And for GST, it's 10%. Okay, we have the example down there. $20 divided by 100. The amount outstanding, the tax amount outstanding multiplied by 20 divided by 100. That's the calculation of the flat rate. For the per annum penalty, it's the above, which is the outstanding tax multiplied by 20 over 100 times the number of days late over 365 days. Okay, so what you will see on your statement when we issue the statement is 2,065 Kina, 2,265 Kina 32 Toya altogether. Okay, the 220 is the base tax plus the flat rate and the per annum penalty adds up to 2,665 Kina 32 Toya. So if you pay on time, you avoid that additional expense to yourself or to your business. For late lodgement penalties, currently this applies to corporate income tax and personal income tax returns, and it's a flat rate of 100 Kina multiplied by the number of months that you lodge late. Okay, a very important thing to note here is the tax returns are still required, even irrespective of whether or not the business has started trading or employing staff from the date of registration. So what does that mean? If you haven't started operations yet, but you've already registered with IPA and have registered for TIN, you must lodge a nil return. Okay, a nil return must be lodged with a cover letter saying that you have not started operating yet, and therefore you are not lodging a nil return. Okay, so that is captured and your record as a taxpayer is updated that you have complied with your filing requirement, but there is no tax payable. So the amount of tax that will be captured is nil. Okay, sometimes we have, small businesses, example, construction companies that work on ad hoc basis. Some months they have jobs that are contracts that are given to them. Other times they might not have a job, so they stand their workers down, and during that time they're not paying salary wages. You're still required to lodge a nil return. Okay. Okay, what happens to those taxpayers that don't comply with their filing and their payment requirements? They are referred to the division that I work in, which is called a debt and lodgement enforcement process. Debt and lodgement enforcement division, sorry. And that's the process up there. The three highlighted in yellow, okay, it's early collection unit, FEMA unit, and prosecution unit. Those are the three sections that we have within that division. Okay, I am in charge of early collection unit. That's where the process is initiated. We start from early collection. Okay, it's soft enforcement process starts from there. So if we get our reports and we find that a taxpayer has not been lodging or paying their taxes that have declared, our officers will then make a telephone call or email. So it's very important that your addresses, your contact details are always up to date. So whenever we need to get in touch with you, we are able to do that. Most times, taxpayers register, they don't give us the correct telephone number or email addresses, and we find it difficult getting in touch with them. And, they miss out on the help that we can give them or the advice that we can offer to them. So that's very important. If you change your email address or your telephone number, please let us know so we can update your records in our system. Okay, the early collection unit also issues demand letters. That's the start of the enforcement process. With the demand letter, we give at least 14 days for the taxpayer to respond and tell us why they have not lodged or filed yet. Okay, after the demand letter, if the taxpayer fails to respond, then we issue a NILA, which stands for Notice of Intention to Take Legal Action. Okay. Now that's the end of the process in early collection. If we issue the NILA and the taxpayer still fails to respond to that notice, then the cases are then referred to our FEMA action. And FEMA action will take FEMA recovery action on those cases. For debt, they are referred to FEMA. For lodgement cases, if you see the brown arrow pointing down to prosecutions, for lodgements, they are referred directly to our prosecution unit to start commence prosecution on those taxpayers. If they are outstanding payments, the cases are referred to our FEMA action. And when the cases get to FEMA action, they can issue a garnishee. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about garnishee. A garnishee order is placed on your account at the bank, and the bank is required to deduct money from your account and pay it direct to IRC. Okay, the IRC has powers to do that. So as much as possible, we want our taxpayers to come to us during the early collection stages. But if you don't, then we will be required to refer the case to FEMA so we can collect the debt. Also in FEMA, that's when you can request for a payment agreement. That can also be done in early collection. Okay, and there are also other FEMA actions that are taken, which is the DPN. DPN stands for Director Penalty Notice. That is a notice that is issued to company directors concerning the outstanding taxes, and this is for GST, and salary wages tax. Okay. The other notice that is issued is the departure prohibited order, prohibition order. That is issued to the airlines. So when this is issued to the airlines, they will stop the taxpayer from traveling out of the country. Okay, we have stopped owners of businesses traveling out on certain occasions already. They've gone to the airport and they were not allowed to board the flight until they have settled their debts. So those are the powers that IRC has, and these are exercised by the FEMA unit. Okay, if we are not able to recover the debt, then it is written off. After the issues of DPN and DPO, the case can then be referred for prosecution. Okay, and that's when you are taken to court for non-payment or non-lodgement of your tax returns. So that's the process taken in Debt and Lodgement Enforcement Division. Okay. The third one is certificate of compliance. Okay, what is a certificate of compliance? Okay, it's a certificate issued by the Internal Revenue Commission to taxpayers who enter into a contract in which eligible payments are expected to exceed 5,000 Kina per annum. Okay, we'll explain further. Okay, which industries require COC? Oh, okay. The industries that require COC, okay, so taxpayers who provide these services are required to apply for a certificate of compliance. Okay, it's building and construction, including repairs, painting, fitting of built-in furniture and any other building or construction activity, road transportation of goods and materials, repair and maintenance of motor vehicles or the components, including painting, panel beating, etc., construction of items of joinery that becomes a fixture in any building, provision of security services, and the hire and lease of plants and equipment. How do you obtain a certificate of compliance? You must have an active TIN. Okay, so you must be registered. For those of you who have not registered at IPA yet, or who have not registered their businesses, you will need to go and register at IPA first before you come and apply for a COC. You need your TIN in order to apply for a COC. Okay, you must have a business bank account. You must be compliant. Okay, so your filing and payment requirements must all be up to date. You must fill in the COC application form, answer all the questions, and that application form must be submitted through the email address that's given on the screen. Okay? We no longer allow applications to be lodged at the counter unless the taxpayer does not have access to email. Then we will accept it, but it will be emailed to the virtual team that manages that email or the mailbox for certificate of compliance. Okay, what happens when the COC is emailed? We have a virtual COC team that is dedicated to processing the initial process of the applications that are lodged. Now, the request for certificate of compliance is done, it's automated. So when an application is received, the request is entered into the system. The system does the validations of your payment and lodgement obligations. So if you have missed a month, the system will pick it up because there's nothing showing in the account to say that you have lodged or paid for the month. And if the request fails because there is an outstanding, the certificate does not get printed. A certificate of compliance can be printed on the same day, instantly, I should say, on request. A lot of times, because there are outstanding returns or payments, the applications are declined by the system. But suppose all your filing and payments are up to date, same day, the system will print out the certificate of compliance. But if there are outstandings and the system rejects the application, that application is then handed over to the Debt and Lodgement Enforcement Division to follow up on those outstanding returns and payments. Now, some of you may have experienced that when you lodged your application, you were not given the certificate of compliance instantly. You were advised that your application has been referred to a case officer in DLED to review your tax accounts. Okay. Now, if the application is declined, then you have a responsibility of requesting for an interim certificate of compliance if you are not able to settle all the outstanding tax obligation in full. Okay? If your request is declined and you are told that, oh, you have this return to lodge and payment to be made, okay, if you want the system to process your COC, you must lodge the outstanding returns and make those payments in order for the system to generate the certificate of compliance. However, if you are not able to meet those requirements in full, then you can ask for an interim certificate of compliance. Okay, when you apply that, you have to, I think it's on the net, sorry. Okay, how to apply for an interim COC. Your application must be in writing, stating the reasons, and you must give us an assurance of when and how those outstanding lodgements and payments are going to be settled. Okay? Or depending on the extent of the outstanding lodgements and the debts, you can go into a payment agreement. Okay? If it's just one lodgement, maybe for last month, I can write and say, oh, I'll lodge it in the following month. We can still allow you a COC. But if you have years and years of lodgement or outstanding payments, then we will ask you to go into a payment or lodgement agreement. Okay? And it goes through, the process is done by debt and lodgement enforcement. I think some of you may have already, gone through this interim application for interim certificates already, so you would know. Okay, just additional information on COC. COC is free of charge. Okay, if anybody charges you for COC, you must report them to IRC. Eligible taxpayers, meaning contractors, must be registered with IRC for more than 3 months. Okay. If you are registered, if your TIN registration is less than 3 months, then you must attach a copy of your TIN certificate, and there is a public notice, which I will show you later on. You must attach that and give that, lodge that with your contract bids. Okay, for suppliers or taxpayers without valid certificate of compliance that have business payment tax deducted from their payments, that deduction can be claimed as a credit or tax rebate in your annual income tax return. And that's in your corporate income tax or your personal income tax return. Okay, we have been having issues, like in the last couple of years, where fake COCs have been issued by officers. There is a fine of 50 Kina, and there are taxpayers who also bribe taxpayers to issue them fake certificates, and the fine of that is 50,000 or a jail term of 12 months. For those of you who were here on the first day, you would have heard from the keynote address delivered by our Commissioner General Sam Coim about what is it called? A QR code. It's an app that is in the process of being developed. That will be downloaded. That can be downloaded on your smartphones, and that can be used to validate if a certificate of compliance is genuine or not. Okay, that's to minimize the issues of fraudulent CFCs that have been circulating in the country. Sorry, we'll just wait for the PDF image to be displayed on the screen. Okay, that's the public notice that I was referring to. For those taxpayers with less than 3 months or TIN registration less than 3 months, will need to attach that public notice with the TIN certificate, with the bids, the contract bids. There's information, other information on COC on that public notice as well. We have copies of them outside. So if you want a copy, you can get one from our booth. Okay, we said we were going to go through forms during this awareness too. The next slide will be on how to fill in a COC application. It's already been filled out, completed. So we'll just go through. You need to, when you complete the form, you need to identify or indicate your TIN number. Okay, and where it says name of taxpayer, if you are a sole trader, you write the name, your individual name. If it's a company, you write the name of the company. And if you have a tax representative, you indicate the name. Otherwise, if you are doing your own tax returns, for instance, in this application, it says self-represented. Okay, so if I was filling out the form, then, and if I am taking care of my own taxation matters, that's what I would write. Okay, I indicate my telephone number and my email address. These are very important information because if we need to get in touch with you regarding your COC, we must be able to get in touch with you. Okay, in the next section, the mailing address, which also requires you to put your location as well. Not everybody stays in the city. Not everybody has a section and lot number. Okay, for me, I put Padihagwa, Hanobada village. That's where I come from. Okay, and my address is 6360 Boroko Post Office, NCD. Okay, going down to the rest of the application. Okay, thank you. I don't have the application. Okay, Part A requires you to write the name of the business, the name under which you run your business. For me, I've put down BJ Building Construction. Okay. And the next question asks where your business records are held. It's at my residence at Padihagwa Hanobada Village. The next question is for companies where they are registered. That's not applicable, so I put in not applicable. And the next question is year of last tax return lodged. Now I have been very good. I'm up to date with my lodgement, so I put 2001. 2021, sorry. Yeah. And we only issue one copy of the COC. You are required to make copies if you have more than one paying authority. You make enough copies for yourself to distribute to your paying authorities. You're also required to give details of your last certificate of compliance. Okay, so you can write down the number of the certificate of compliance and you have to attach a copy of it as well. Okay, because the IRC is going to validate whether it was a genuine certificate or a fake one. Okay, going down to part B of the form. The first question asks how long I have been or you have been carrying on this business in Papua New Guinea. Okay, you write down when you started or the number of years that you have been operating. And then question number 2, what kind of business you are in? Okay, I put the building construction and maintenance. Okay, and third question asks you about your financial documents. The first one, A, says a brief description of books kept. Okay, so whatever books you are working with, you list them down in there. I don't have an accountant that keeps my records or does my returns, so I put self in there. But if you do have a tax accountant, a registered tax agent, then you must put the name of the tax agent and the details, the contact details. Okay, the last question is details of how often and what type of financial statements are prepared for these records. Okay, I've got profit and loss statement and annual tax returns. Again, it asks the question, where do you run your business from? Again, it's Badihagwa, Hanobada Village. The next question is asking you to what extent you have advertised your business in public. Now, people go on Facebook and advertise their businesses, so I've put Facebook in there. You can put, if you have advertised elsewhere, then you must indicate where you've advertised your business. Okay, the next question is for you to, or requirement is for you to give your bank details. Very important. If you don't provide this information, your certificate of compliance will not be processed. Okay, we also have the rest of the questions asking if the business transactions are done through that bank account. Okay, the answer should be yes. If you say no, then you have to explain why you have not been doing that. Okay, and you also ask whether the above bank account is kept separately from your private account. Okay, the business account must be kept separate from your private account. Okay, you also asked if you have employees. Okay, if you have employees, you indicate yes. If not, you say no. And then if you are registered, when was the last group tax payment? Okay, for this applicant here, the last group tax payment was made on the 5th of August this year, which was for the month of July 2022. Okay, for the date, your last group stationery was lodged, meaning your statement of earnings and the annual reconciliation statement. The answer is there. It was lodged on the 7th of February 2022. The next question asks, do you have GST payable sales over 250,000 Kina per annum? For this applicant, he has indicated as no. Okay, it's a small business. The rest of the questions are not applicable for GST. And you are also asked whether you made any eligible payments in excess of 5,000 Kina. Okay, if you're a contractor, you can subcontract another business. So if I am in building construction, where I build a house, I will need a plumber and an electrician to come in and install the plumbing work or the electrical work for me. So I need a subcontractor. That question is relating to that kind of engagement. Okay, so if you have subcontracted anybody, then you'll have to indicate yes or no, and whether it was in excess of 5,000 Kina. Okay, the next section requires you to show the names of your paying authorities. For this application, it's Health Department and Education Department. You're required to give that information as well to indicate who is giving you contract, who is your paying authority, or who are your paying authorities. You're required to list them in that section of the application form. Okay, the next question says, have you paid all taxes due and payable under the Acts administered by IRC? Okay, just as an example, the applicant has indicated no, okay, for this section. And the reason given there is insufficient funds in the bank account at the moment. And the bank account statement is also attached as a supporting document. Okay, and at the bottom, the last part of the application, you indicate whether there are any outstanding lodgements or payments. In this case, remember in the top part of the previous part of the application, I indicated that the last return that was lodged was for July 2022. Now that we are in September, August will be due. But I haven't lodged and paid that yet. And my reason is because I don't have enough funds yet. Okay? So I've indicated that, but I've also applied for an extension of time, and that's been approved. So I explained that in the last part, details of extension. Extension has been granted till the 31st of October this year, and I attach a copy of that approval notice. Okay, that's the end of the application, but you have to sign it and put the date when you are lodging it to IRC. Okay, the samples of certificate of compliance. That's the first, the old version of certificate of compliance. Okay, we've done away with that version since the beginning of this year. Okay, so that's the old version. The new version is in the next slide. Okay, the new version has the crest, the watermark, crest watermark on it. Okay, and the stamp, the approval stamp that is also shown on the slide, on the certificate, is the only stamp that we use to approve, stamp the approved certificate of compliance. Okay, any other stamps is not allowed. So If you get a certificate of compliance that does not have that stamp on it, please send it to us for validation. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. If you need to get in touch with us, if you have any questions, my counterpart is here. He's the Mr. Dollar Cruz is the director for FEMA enforcement. He's the one that issues the garnish, not me. Okay, our contact details are up there. Thank you very much and wish you all a pleasant afternoon. If there's no more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Kaya, Director Early Collections, and we also have Director FEMA, Mr. Agustin Dola Cruz, also here with us. So thank you. I think her presentation was clear. Plenty blame scheme law penalties na COC, and now I'm come give him again. I think it's simple and clear. Lo yumi kiss him, but I think during the course of the day, I'm always lo ask him lo yumi walk ask him, lo yumi kiss him ends up in his. So COC, yumi talk pinisa. You comply, you walk him something straight. There's got recent lo IRC lo talk no got lo issue him. So it all comes back to you. And with that also too, COC, you miss have now systems are generating. So no can try no think lo all say more. You got one plus friend stop lo IRC or one plus family member walk lo IRC stop na. You come talk him and please walk him blow me hurry up. This display am no got more. And we do not encourage that. Suppose you survey Sam, you no comply, now you still finding way you around to trying to get a COC. You not only subject yourself to the law because law to be behind you as well as the IRC officer. So please, no can kiss him all funny ideas lo try lo force him yet lo kiss him COC. You may harim pinis, early collection, FEMA, and then prosecution. We plan also go ahead na make him nothing na plenty complaints that come up no got. We plus give him opportunity past them. You lo come forward before we take further actions on you. So thank you, Miss Kaya. Now boy mi go lo narapla one narapla. I think me talk gonna me lose thing finish. TCC. TCC, we have our presenter, Miss Veronica Douglas, Sembakam, another tool. Nungut you think you like aburusimol obligations blue here na start sending money overseas? Sorry to mas nogat. Embakam talk saveli.
Nunolgeta. My name is Veronica Douglas. I am the team leader of the tax clearance section in the case selection and intelligence division. And my presentation will be on tax clearance. The objectives or outline of this presentation. By the end of this session, you should be able to know what a tax clearance certificate or TCC is, why you need a tax clearance certificate, who needs a tax clearance certificate, when you need, what the required documents are, what your obligations are when lodging a tax clearance application, and how to complete a tax clearance application. Okay, so what is a tax clearance certificate? A tax clearance certificate is a document issued to a taxpayer by the Commissioner General certifying that the taxpayer is compliant and is allowed to transfer funds offshore. The tax clearance request is submitted on a prescribed form, and that form is the form TCC. A tax clearance request can be declined if a taxpayer is found to be non-compliant or does not meet the requirements. This tax clearance certificate is a requirement of the Bank of PNG. Why do you need a tax clearance certificate? So the list of countries shown there, to send even one Kina, you need a tax clearance certificate. So in the list, you'll see Hong Kong, Solomon Islands, Switzerland, Tonga, Vanuatu, to name a few. Countries that are not listed, you have a threshold of 500,000 in any calendar year. The types of transactions that require a tax clearance certificate: transfer of capital funds, payment of loans or interest on borrowings, transfer of funds under a court order, payment of royalties, example, license fees, management fees or similar, payment to a trust fund, payment of dividends, transfers of which are not trade related, involving movement of goods, payments made on the sale or purchase of securities, land or other property, and the transfer of shares from the PNG register. Required documents. So I have a list of documents which are not exhaustive, meaning that we have the primary list. Once you lodge your application, we do our review and we require more information, we will advise you to provide. So it doesn't mean that you see the list of documents and you say, I provided everything. Why are you asking me for more? Incomplete applications will be sent back to the applicant. This includes applications with insufficient documentation. A correctly and fully completed application form with all relevant supporting documents attached will assist with quicker processing. The turnaround time for processing tax clearance applications is 10 working days. So this is the list of documents that we require when you lodge your applications. So transfer of capital funds, this would mean salaries. So some of you who have families in Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, they request for money from you and you think of sending money to them, especially if you are salary wage earner. It's 3 current pay slips, statement of earnings for the last year, and the last one is actually for other countries like Australia. If you exceed the 500,000, you will provide the first 2 plus the last schedule of remittances. Payment of loans on interest of borrowings is a copy of the duly signed loan agreement, as well as a bank statement evidencing flow of funds into the country and a repayment schedule. Next one, payment of royalties, license fees, management fees, prescribed contract fees, etc. Copy of duly signed contracts or agreements, copies of invoices from service providers. Payment to a trust fund, copy of deed of trust. Payment of dividends, duly signed directors meeting minutes, copy of duly signed solvency certificate. payment made on sale or purchase of securities, land, or other property. That would be copy of a transfer instrument, copy of the contract of sale or purchase of land or property. The transfer of shares from PNG register to another register, copy of the shunt form. This shunt form is from the PNG registry office. Copy of valid ID. This would be the shareholder, yeah. They have to provide a valid copy. And this document will also come with a confirmation from the PNG registry's office. Transfer of funds under court order. Copy of the court order, copy of bank statement, evidencing receipt of funds. Transfer of funds in respect of interest on borrowings, copy of the loan agreement, copy of bank statement evidencing flow of funds into the country repayment schedule. Transfer of funds which are not trade related involving the physical movement of goods. These copies of invoices, copy of bill of lading. Note there, additional information must be provided as and when requested. Important notes to remember, from the 31st/12/2022, all individuals or salary wage earners are required to obtain 18 for TCC purposes. This means that currently, if you are employed, you do not require a TIN because your employer pays your taxes. But if you want to send money overseas to your relatives, you will need to get a TIN. When a TCC has expired and a full amount requested has not been fully utilized, by the end of the validity period, a new TCC application is required to be lodged for the balance. The IRC has ceased issuing blanket clearances. These are tax clearance certificates which have a validity of 12 months and usually to various recipients, service providers, or suppliers for various transactions. We no longer issue that. What we issue is a certificate to a specific supplier or service provider for a specific country. The Commissioner General has the authority to refuse the issuance of any tax clearance certificate if the transaction is believed to result in tax avoidance or evasion, or is a scheme for money laundering or to fund illegal activities overseas. So the form TCC has 2 pages, page 1 and page 2. So this is when we get to fill in the form TCC. So my taxpayer here is Jane Pace Moore. She's an individual. She will be representing herself. That's her phone number, email address. Like all other applications, you need to submit a valid email address. Section 1, Lot 46. She lives at Gahusi Street, Gero Stage 1. PO Box 2022, country PNG, province NCD, post office Gordons. She is sending money to her brother, Joe Paysmore. His address is Riverside, Solomon Islands. So the reason for him sending money is medical bills. Nature of transaction, transfer of capital funds. She will be sending 1,950 Kina. She hopes to start sending by the 10th of October 2022, sending to Solomon Islands. So she will be sending 650 per month for the next 3 months, and the total of that is 1,950. So she'll start sending from the 10th of October 2022 to 31st of December 2022. Source of funds from savings, salary. So she's putting 1,950 in the box that says savings. She also has to state her bank and branch. This vital information that is always missed out when people fill in the tax clearance application. When it is complete, you fill in the date and sign. As well as this application, the supporting the required documents I've already listed that need to be provided. So your tax clearance application should be sent to the email address there, tax_clearance@irc.gov.pg. And that brings me to the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Veronica. Emoraita, any questions? One or two? Okay. We have one. Miss Veronica, you have a few questions to answer. We'll take two. We'll take two questions. Oh, one from.
Thank you, Veronica. My question, I think I will refer my question to the first one because when the first lodgement enforcement section you came and give us your presentation, I think most of us did not give you the question instantly because we are trying to figure out what questions that we can give it to you. So you are too fast and went and sit down. So I think I will give you the question. Am I right? Okay, yeah. This la enforcement you talk stuff. I think it's not conducive for people who are registering in the villages because you by looking was in return, yeah. Every month you talk, yeah. I think online, especially la papanigini, geographically, by you looking mosem. Plenty of people register in all this la, this Latin, plenty of people me believe in all stuff of places where all banana update. Okay, I give my the case study that I have confrontation with the IRC staff. We've been registering business law IPA me come na make him thin long IRC na business me like him round here I'm hard because all money man who globe kism business tare about na me blow living time like him I'm hard. So and then I have an obligation to do the return. Thing me work him nothing you want and then we feel him was a me work western paper nothing no photocopy. And then I come and told the officer, please, look at some business now, me work law. Because according to law, I need to submit the returns monthly. That is according to the law of the IRC. But these laws law making more businessman law making business at Ingima. This level must consider it. So me work law, so me work law photocopy na since me work in business, but me work law photocopy na me work law return immediately at the point in time when me give up something, I mean not with him. I think while I'm giving this background, I think some like Mr. This scenario. Igo na mi kam na mi talking my service na talk. Lugo sem work me like around na pa ni me lugo sem hard so me by no na giving. But you know giving no by you paying penalty na. It's like I am caught up in there. So me losing. As me talk started 3 years number me no la business. Now me interest law come because me feeling was a minute law participate law this last me. So me come now yeah. Now me prepare law one kind penalty you giving me like same but my point here is that the avenues that do the payment, do we have to do the returns that we plan or returning law this 3 years or 2 years or 1 year? Or do we have to do the payment? And me like you clarify me this thank you.
Okay. You mentioned that you have not been lodging your returns, right? Because you are not able to get a contract. Okay, and now you give up, Lodisla. Okay, that situation is faced not by you, so many others also face it. But if you are late, you are still required to lodge those returns. And you explain to us that you still don't, you haven't been, you haven't won a contract yet, and therefore you lodge nil returns. But if you decide to close your business because you're not making any business or the business is not running, then you have to advise us to deactivate your TIN number. Okay, behind you pay him or contract, then you can advise us. Or say, I want to reactivate my TIN registration again. We will reactivate it. Okay. We also have in our system which we can put your accounts on hold or inactivate them for the period that you are not able to operate. Is that okay? All right, good.
Thank you. One question from the back. We'll take two, one this, one from this side, and we'll proceed on to our next speaker.
Thank you. Just in addition of our brother Totoke, me just said him tasol na tram bayupla clearing me liglit. Now is me me work lo make him all contract book, but then I time me work lo provide him all valid certificate going to all narap lo agencies where all work lo give me contract lem. Nowadays all system where so usai ju sawer lem na money manipulate all system Time mipla make him all sham koyam all paper lo mipla work lo go outdated. Time mipla come again lo you play mipla no make something but mipla need lo abide one them rules and regulation where you put him long. So now that you play clear remember mosem you play clear me now sampla too. Thank you. Okay, nara play molsem come again you play commenta solem. Come again los la fake certificate where all sample officers make him na sample outside too make him all scan edit. Lo providing this la. Since that you carry out this la QR code there, may you guys put him into effective so that me can use him na make him something inside law idea where now Prime Minister blah blah today's government like him take back PNG me can make him look. At least one way or the other we all contribute to build him nation blah. Thank you.
Thank you. That QR code is still under development, and we are hoping to have it available by next month. Okay.
Thank you. We'll take the last question from the front and we'll proceed on to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you, True. Question lo mi golo, Sister presenting lo TCC ya, melagas kimem. So mi all business got different model businesses you I work in. Plenty time by me domestically use more service liya, several companies also plan by engaging more foreign workers by based in a foreign country, and we need to remit salaries for them. What category does it fall into? In the type of category we have to remit every month to pay for salaries. Because of this, after the COVID, now we have this remote work situations and all that. So some of us plan to engage foreign workers in foreign countries. So how do we deal with that situation, and which category does it fall into? And because when we do remittance to when we go to the bank, it also depends on availability of the forex in the market. And our remittance sometimes, like for example in BSP and all that, it can take you 3 months, 60 days, or even up to 3 months for your funds to be remitted. And then we want to go to the Western Union, and then they have to tell you that you have a certain limit to remit out if you're an individual. So all of this confront people like us. So we want to, find out from you if you can explain to us how this is, in our situation like this, how do we treat that situation? And is there any way that IRC can be able to assist us in that regard? Thank you.
So have you did you already get the overseas contractors on board? You're signing contracts. In any year, do you think you will exceed 500,000? No. And to what countries are you paying these salaries? Which two countries? Indonesia and India. In the list of countries that I showed, those two countries are not listed. So you have a 500,000 Kina threshold. But my advice to you, when you start making payments, you keep a record how much you send, because the bank will not advise you that you are reaching your limit. They will wait until you hit 500,000, and then they tell you, and then it's an inconvenience to you, your service providers, and it will be an inconvenience to us trying to meet your targets for payment. In any case, you keep your records. Once you reach 400,000, you have your records, who you paid, how much you paid, and you lodge your application. Our TCC, we can give you up to 12 months max, but that depends on our review. You don't wait until the last minute.
Thank you. I think that's the last question for our two presenters. Once again, thank you, Ms. Veronica, tax clearance. We'll move on to our final presenter, would be Ms. Akosita Mboy. She will be speaking on objections and reviews. In the event that, like as I indicated, if you do object an assessment from the IRC, the process that you would go through. So she will be explaining on that. Thank you. Okay. Am I talking?
Yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon to our viewers online. Thank you for having me. My name is Akosita Moy, and I'm with the IRC. What I will do with you this afternoon is I will walk you through dispute resolution. Now, everyday life, you have disputes, right? In anything. But today we are talking only about tax disputes, not family disputes or all the rest, just tax disputes. Okay? So the presentation focus is on request for amendments, objection process, and appeal process. Now, when you first begin lodging your tax return, like throughout the whole sessions that you've been having, you will notice that when you lodge your returns, you receive an assessment. Is it true? Yes. So when you get that assessment and you find that you do not agree with that assessment and you want to bring your dissatisfaction of that particular assessment to the IRC, there are avenues available for you in order to have your voice heard. And those avenues are through the request for an amendment, through an objection process, or if not an objection process, when you finish that, then you go to the appeal process. Okay? So this is just the flow of how a dispute actually arises. So you'll see that there is you file your return, and assessment is being issued, and then you pay. Now, when you receive your assessment, you would want, if you do not agree with that assessment, you have two avenues. That's request for amendment and objection. Now, when you write a request for amendment, it goes to the divisions that raise that assessment, and they look at your letter of request to have that assessment looked at. However, if you want to raise an objection to that particular assessment, you have a time limit, and we will go through that as we proceed through this session. There is also one thing I would like to make clear, that when it comes to objections, the officers that look at these particular objection letters, they are separate. They are not the people that actually raise the assessment. They are independent. They review that particular assessment on their own. So what they're doing is that they're looking at your letter of objection, as well as the grounds that you're putting, and as well as the assessment that was raised by the first person that actually raised that assessment. So it's more like a holistic view, but independent view of that particular assessment. Is that clear? So when that happens, then you go down to, if you're not satisfied after the objection is being done, then it goes down to the income tax. You can have your objection decision looked at by the review tribunal, and then it goes, if you're still not satisfied with that decision, you can take it further, and that is to the National Court. So I will just go through this process, but this time a little slower. So when does a request for amendment arise? Well, it arises when there is an error in the information declared in the tax return. There are sometimes when you lodge your tax return, you don't really get all the information that you want in that tax return when you're lodging it. Sometimes you forget something. Second one, if information not available at the time of filing of the income tax return. Sometimes you get information to your tax agent, and then they prepare your return. And then when it goes through, you find out that, oh, I did not provide this information to my tax agent before they actually lodged it. So you can also request for amendment when that happens. If there is an error in the data input by IRC, so in the event that you receive the assessment and then you find that, oh, this is not what I lodged something else, but they did this, you can also put in your request for amendment. And the last one is invalid objections. In the event that you lodge the objection, but it is an invalid one, you can always request for amendment to that assessment. Is it clear? Good. Okay, we move on. So the amendment to the income tax assessment, our Commissioner General or the IRC can make amendments to an assessment in the following circumstance. That is the first one we just talked about, which is to correct an error in the calculation of tax where the tax return lodged is not true and correct, which sometimes happens. In order to allow or partly allow an objection or an appeal or court decision. So these are the instances where you would like a assessment to be amended, or the assessment can be amended. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. Next. So the time restriction for the Commissioner General to make the amendment, when you lodge that request for amendment, they have time limits. For this particular one, in the event that you lodge the tax return and you declare fully all the facts, and there has been an avoidance of tax, where the avoidance of tax is due to fraud and evasion, the amendment to that assessment can be at any time. You got that? So if you're lodging the assessment, but you did not make a full disclosure of all your facts initially when you lodge that return, when we raise an amendment, when the CG raises the amendment, they can do it anytime. There is no time limit to that return that you lodged. Is it clear? So suppose you get man this return, you put him, and then after 20 years, we apply him or some this assessment you give him. The tax return you gave was actually false. We can still amend it. The second one is in other cases, let's say within 6 years from the date which the tax became due and payable under the assessment. So if you lodge that return and then you get an assessment, and then we would change, if you have not disclosed all the details or all the necessary facts, we can raise an amendment to that initial assessment within 6 years when that tax became due. So it's 6 years from the time that it came due and payable. Is it clear? Is it clear? Okay, let me go back, one step back. So I get a return, I lodge it in, me yaman, me tokol I did not, put in right figures inside this return. And then I lodged it with the IRC. Okay? Within that 6 years, if the IRC finds out that you have you have not disclosed anything, you have not declared everything correctly in that return, we can change that assessment from the date that that return fell due. So for example, if we raise the return this year, you lodged it now. Let's say this is 2019. You lodged the return now. You didn't declare all the information that was in there. So when that tax became due and payable, 6 years, we can change that assessment within that 6 years from the date it fell due. You got that? Okay. Okay, I'll change it the other way around. I'm Mary. I'm Akosita Moy. I got this return and I went and I lodged it. When I lodged it, I did not provide all my details inside that return. Sample part of this return, me no put him go inside. Okay? And then I went and lodged it. Now an assessment has been raised. And then I'm supposed to pay that assessment. That means that you're supposed to pay, let's say, 250 Kina on that assessment. But because Migyaman or Disla, from the date that Disla 250 am due, 6 years from that point, we can make changes to the tax return. Suppose we find that you have falsified your documents in lodging that return. Now you follow? Thank you.
You declared you paid a return for 2019, but 6 years down the line, IRC does its check and find out that you've not declared the correct return 6 years ago. We can go back 6 years and default you.
Change it.
We amend the return. Yes. Amount will definitely
change that
increase.
amount.
You've lied to us.
Because you did not, remember, can you see in highlight what it says there? Not made a full and true disclosure, which means you were not true when you lodged that return. Okay, so 6 years later we are penalized. You're not penalized. It's not called a penalty. The assessment is changed. That assessment is amended. You're following? It's not a penalty. Yes, it's 7 years. So
Like
you see,
it's,
when you lodge the return, you remember when you were going through the records from the other lady, it's from the date when you lodge the return today. From today, 6 years from today, you're supposed to keep that record because you lodged it today. You're following? When you lodge it today, the assessment is raised, the tax is now due for you to pay. And then you pay. But if we find out within that 6 years, you German put him this return, you not put him through talk inside this return. In that 6 years, we can change him. Yes, it can be done by the audit department.
question time will come.
When we find information that return, that the tax return that you lodged is incorrect in what you have stated in that return. Do you understand? So what I'm saying is, if you lodge the return, no can think that you'll put something in there and then you expect, they will never find out. Because after that point, 6 years from that point, if we find out within the 6 years, we will come back and change that assessment. It will be an amendment. It's not a penalty.
Test.
7 years. This is under it. It's 6 years. So it is within the 7 years.
Thank you. I think that's clear.
Is it clear now?
Proceed
Thank you.
We'll take
Okay.
question time and comments.
Shall we move on? Thank you. So, in the case of an assessment under which no tax is payable, which means that you lodged that return, but there was no tax to pay, within 6 years from the date of the issue of that notice, we can change that assessment. An amendment can be raised. So this is now, no tax is due. Sorry, that's a reduction. Okay. there is now a reduction. In the case of an assessment under which no tax is payable. So you lodge your return. When you got your assessment, it says no tax to pay. From the figures you get, you put them go inside. So after that time, when you receive that notice of assessment, 6 years down the line, if we find something else that stays otherwise, we can always come back and change that assessment. You're following? Yes. Thank you. Okay, that's the time restriction. So we have time restrictions to change what you have put in. And our time to change what you have put is 6 years. So we've got 6 years to make sure that what you have done is correct or not. So that doesn't mean that you put it today and you think that, 3 years down the line, IRC will not find out. I'm sorry, IRC will still find out. It's 6 years. Okay? So let's go to the next one. The next time restriction to the amendments. In the event now you have made a full disclosure, you as a taxpayer have now put everything in that tax return. And all the material facts necessary for that assessment to increase the liability shall not be made after the expiration of, in the event that it is a salary and wage. Salary and wages tax is a deemed assessment. So we can only change salary and wage taxes 6 years from the date that it is being issued or the notice comes to you. Sorry. Could I please have water? Thank you. So I'll go a bit slower. Thank you. Where a taxpayer has made a full and true disclosure in that tax return, all the material facts necessary for the assessment, an amendment to increase that liability shall be made after the expiration of, in the case of a deemed assessment for salary and wage, it is only 6 years. So if you as a taxpayer lodge your tax returns and you have given everything in that tax return, everything is true. And then if we, the IRC, are to increase the liability of that salary and wage, we have 6 years. 6 years to change or increase that liability. You following? In any other case, it is 3 years from the date which the tax became due and payable. So if it's not a salary and wages tax, but it's any other tax, that's GST, PIT, GST, goods and services tax, personal income tax, corporate income tax, all that, we can change the amount or the assessment. We can change the assessment after 3 years, within the 3 years. 3 years when that tax became due. So you lodge your return, everything is true, we raise the assessment, we've got only 3 years if we are to make an amendment to that assessment. Because you have provided everything, the full disclosure inside the tax return. Is that clear? In the case where there is no taxes payable, that's for other taxes, not salary and wages tax, where no tax is payable, it's within 3 years from the date of issue of the assessment. So there are two things happening here within those 3 years. If it's a return lodged, you have provided everything in that tax return, and we are now trying to change your tax assessed, increase it. We're trying to increase what you're supposed to pay. We have 3 years to do it from the date your tax on your assessment fell due. So when you get the assessment, it says due date. We got 3 years to change it. You following? But if you get it and there is no tax payable, we also have 3 years, but from the date of the notice, not when it falls due, because there's nothing that fell due. You following? Okay. Now, the time restriction to make amendments in the case where there is a reduction in the liability. This is still talking about you lodging the return and you have provided everything on the tax return. But now we are reducing what you're supposed to pay after finding or we have information. So an amendment affecting the reduction in the liability of the taxpayer shall be made after the expiration of, in the case it's a salary and wages tax, it's 6 years. You following? Same thing that I'm talking about. You lodge the return, you've done the full disclosure. If we, the IRC, is going to reduce the tax that is now fallen due, we have 6 years to do it if it's a salary and wages tax. In any other case, whether it's a personal income tax, corporate tax, all the others, apart from salary and wage, it's 3 years when the tax fell due and became payable. Okay? So I'm kind of saying the same thing over and over for you to get it. You follow? Thank you. So that's the time restriction for you when you have lodged everything on your tax return and we are making an increase in your liability or doing a decrease in your liability. You're following now? So the last bit, the time restriction for amendments does not prevent. Let's say if there is an objection and then they raise the assessment, there is no restriction for timing of 6 years or 3 years. Does not prevent that amendment. So the time restriction to amend does not prevent the amendment of that assessment to give effect to the decisions upon an appeal or a review or an objection made by the taxpayer or pending an appeal. So I'll go slowly. So now we want to make an amendment to your assessment, to that one assessment. When you are doing or you have lodged an appeal to the review tribunal, that amendment can be changed at any one time. There is no time restriction. You following? Yes, it's open. There's no 6 years, there's no 3 years. It's open. That's for when there is an appeal to the court or review tribunal, they're open. The time of that is the amendment to that assessment is open. You follow that? There's no restriction. Okay, you will notice that sometimes when an objection is taking place or an assessment is being reviewed by the National Court, the timing that is given there does not follow in the provisions of the amendments. So this is only for appeals and any decisions made by the objections that go to the review tribunal. So now we have left amendments. So all we have been talking about is amendments when you provide your full details in your return, amendments when you don't provide your full details in your return. This time we are talking about lodgements. Now when we were talking about amendments, there was time frame of 6 years when it's a salary and wage and 3 years when we can change that assessment. When it comes to objection, the time frame is very, very short. It's only 60 days. So when you want to lodge an objection, the objection comes about when you lodge your return, you get the assessment, you pick up the assessment, you see the return, you notice that, no, I don't agree with this tax that I'm supposed to pay. You've got exactly 60 days from the time you got that notice to lodge this objection. Now, not only that, you will also have to provide full grounds of that objection. Why do you not agree with that assessment? Which means you have to have proof, your document evidence to show that, yes, my assessment or my return, this is actually what I'm supposed to pay, not what you have raised. Okay? Now, this is for lodgement of objections for all the other assessments. any assessment that is being raised except stamp duty. For stamp duty, the top part of it, when you want to lodge an objection, is the same, which is you have to write an objection letter. You have to state the full grounds of why you do not agree with that assessment, but the time frame is even more smaller. It's 30 days. Is it clear? So you'll notice that from request amendments, you have 6 years. And then you have, for salary and wage, you have 3 years. But when it comes to objections, it's 60 days. But when it comes to stamp duty, it's 30 days. So you can see that the time that is available for you becomes more shorter. The reason why the objection is quite unique and quite different is because it has review rights. You can be able to take, when the objection section actually makes a decision on your objection, and you receive that decision, you have the opportunity to take it one step further to the review tribunal. You cannot do that with a request for an amendment. You can only do that with an objection. Is it clear? But for stamp duty, you only have 30 days. So, how does your objection letter would look like? First, you need your tax identification number. You have to provide your tax identification number and your full details of the assessment and the amendment that you are objecting to. That's including the relevant year of tax. So, for example, if you are objecting to a GST assessment, you will indicate the year. Let's say it's 2001, and you're objecting to, let's say, January. So you would say January 2001. Is it clear? Because it's a monthly assessment. That's including, for PIT, you would be making reference to the year itself, 31st December 2012. So you must put the relevant year that you are objecting to. Full grounds of the objection, details of why you think that assessment that you receive or the amendment that you have received is wrong. The relevant facts, the arguments, information, any documents that support the reasons of your disagreement. Is it clear? So when you're raising an objection to an assessment, meaning that you have received the return, lodged your return, you got your assessment, but you do not agree, you have 60 days from the date you get the notice. You have to provide documentary evidence, provide the year that you lodged it, year that you are objecting to, and your tax identification number. Is that clear? So let's see how would that look. So this is how a normal format would look for an objection letter. So you got your TIN number at the top. That's a bullshit TIN number. Sorry. 500 1 2 3 4 5 6. Excuse me. And then you have the notice of objection against the assessment. So you will say, I, your taxpayer name, hereby object against the assessment of income tax based on income derived during the year ended. In this case, it's for the year 31st/12/2001, and issued to me by notice of assessment dated 20th of July 2022, claim that the assessment should be reduced, meaning that the tax that you have now been asked to pay, you want it to be reduced. And the reason being, you provide the following amounts included in the assessment. You're asking that the claim that the assessment should be reduced by the following amounts included in the assessable income, or the allowance of the following amounts as deductions. You think that there should be further deductions against that income that you declared, or some other item that is not in A or B. Is it clear? So this is actually how the format would look. And then you would put down at the bottom the grounds on which I rely are. Now the Act requires that the grounds be stated fully and in detail. So it doesn't mean that you get up and say, I, Akosita Moy, object to CIT, Corporate Income Tax Assessment for 31st December. It was issued to me on the 1st of July, 2022. No grounds. No grounds, your objection is kicked out. Is it clear? It's a requirement that you must have the grounds of objection. So you don't just say that you're lodging an objection, but you also back it up with why you disagree with that assessment. Then you sign it, you address it, you date it. Is it clear? Thank you. So now the time limit, like I said previously, you lodge that objection within 60 days. 60 days after the service of the notice of assessment, meaning that you get the notice of assessment, you've got exactly 60 days. Okay? Not 60 plus 30 days or 1 year, then you come and lodge the return, your objection. So if you're coming after you get the notice of assessment and then you come and lodge your objection 2 years after that, I'm sorry, my friend, that is not an objection. That is a request for amendment. Okay? So if the objection is lodged, if the objection lodgement date, let's say the 60 days, it falls on a non-business date, let's say on a Saturday or a Sunday, your objection can be lodged on the next business date, which is on a Monday. Okay? Shall we move on? So you are clear with the two basic requirements. 60 days plus 60 days plus your grounds of objection. Remember, I told you, no grounds, no objection. Okay? Now, for small business tax, that is a self-assessment return. So this means that the small business tax cannot object against his or her assessment. The tax payable is final tax on the business income. That's for SBT, small business tax. However, if the small business taxpayer can object to the assessment if the taxpayer believes that a mistake in the adjustment or amendment has been made by the IRC. Let's say if we were entering your information and we ticked a 3 rather than a 6, and your text just showed up, you would definitely not agree. Is it true? Or you want to pay more? Okay. So you would definitely not agree and you request for an amendment. So if the assessment, even in SBT, if you feel that the assessment is incorrect, you can always lodge a request for amendment or, in this case, an objection. Now, the process of objection. When you send us a letter, like I just showed you, the format of the notice of objection, what happens is we screen it first. And we go through those two most important conditions. If they are not met, then it is an invalid objection. And if the objection also is against things that do not form part of the assessment, example, penalties don't form part of the assessment. Consolidated statement of accounts don't form part of the assessment. You would have had during the CIT, corporate income tax presentation, that provisional tax does not form part of the assessment. So you cannot object to those amounts. Is it clear? So it is the assessment is actually the taxable income and the tax that is paid on that taxable income that is coming out of your tax return. You understand? So would you get a tax? Would you have an assessment on a consolidated statement of account? Yes or no? No. Your consolidated statement of account is just your account of all the how much you, that's the total, everything, your summary of all your tax accounts and how much you're supposed to pay or how much you're not supposed to pay. Is it clear? That is not an assessment. So the objection is only valid if your objection is within 60 days and you have the grounds of objection, then it becomes valid. When it becomes valid, we advise our debt recovery team to hold on recovering the text that you have disputed. Is it clear? Only the text that you have disputed. So what they're doing at this point is they are only holding on the amount that you have objected to, that you are disputing to. The rest, you have to pay it. So don't put your objection in and then you are expecting, oh, they're going to hold everything. No, it doesn't happen like that. You are only the amount that you are disputing to, that's being withheld or held while the objection is in process, but the rest of it, you have to pay it. If not, it's accruing penalties. Is it clear? Okay. So what the objection officer will do is he will engage with you on a process that involves examining the grounds of objection that is coming out from your letter, looking at all the relevant facts, information gathered both from the original decision maker, meaning the officer that raised the assessment, and you as the taxpayer, any information that you have provided, researching the issue and consulting with technical experts if the issue that you are objecting to is complex. Okay? And discussing issues with you to better understand the business. Okay, so what's happening during that process? That's 60 days. So you lodge your objection and the turnaround time to get that objection out is 60 days after you have lodged it. So this is what's going on during the time your objection is being lodged. We are engaging with you constantly, finding out whether you have provided your grounds of objection, whether you have documents to support your dissatisfaction to the assessment, any other technical matters that are there before a decision is made. And remember, this is an independent view on that assessment. It is not done by the officer who actually raised the assessment. Is it clear? So when you're putting it through an objection, you know that you are having a fair go. You're having a fair, fresh eye. Look into your objection on your assessment. It's not looked at by the officer that actually raised it, but it's looked at by a team of officers in the objection unit of policy and advice. Okay? So after they have now looked at everything holistically, all the information you provided, all the information that we have there in our office, all the technical issues and the provisions that actually, the laws that govern those particular issues, then a decision is now being made. So where the objection is now considered and the method in dispute is allowed in full, it means that it's now in your favor. Allowed in full, meaning that whatever you objected to is now going to be granted to you. When that happens, we amend the text assessed. So that text assessment that you objected to is now given to you. Remember, not the whole amount, but only the amount that you have objected to. Remember what I said, whatever you did not object to, you have to settle that. Now we also issue an objection decision letter with the notice of the amended text assessment. So we give you a letter telling you that your objection is now allowed in full, and we also give you a amended notice of assessment, allowing the full amount. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is where the objection is considered and the matter that you have now disputed is allowed only in part. That would mean that the assessment that is being raised, only part of that amount that you disputed will be allowed. The rest of it, you're going to have to pay. Is it clear? Remember, this is not something that is taken, you just pick it up and then look at it today and then you make a decision tomorrow. No, this is something that an officer would look at everything before they actually make a decision. One that is fair and just. Okay? So it's not siding with you or siding with the tax officer. It's one that is just and fair. You pay no more, no less, but what you're required to pay. Only what you're required to pay. So the last one is where the objection is considered and the method disputed is disallowed. In this case, you objected to it and we don't agree with you. There are facts there that show that your objection letter is the grounds on which that you have relied on is incorrect. Then what happens is that objection is disallowed. We maintain the full assessment. We advise our DLED team to go ahead and recover that amount from you. We issue an objection decision letter advising you of the outcome, which is to disallow that objection. Is it clear? Okay. In the decision letter, we also advise, that's for both the allowed in part and the disallowed. We advise that should the taxpayer disagree with the decision of the objection, they can take it one step further, and that is to the appeals. And that they can make an appeal to the Income Tax Review Tribunal, which is whatever decision that the objection team has done, you can't come back and put another objection in again. No, that's not how the provisions are there to guide both an officer and both you. Is it clear? So when you get the decision letter, that's it. What's next available for you is you have to take it to the review tribunal to be heard in the event you don't agree with that objection decision letter. Okay? So when it goes to the appeals, your objection decision letter, you lodge an appeal, it goes to the review tribunal. If you're not satisfied, it goes back down to the national court. Just quickly, you will notice that the process of it is you lodge an appeal after you get the decision of the objection, you lodge it in writing, you have to pay 50% of the tax in dispute. Is it clear? 50% of the tax in dispute, and you have to lodge it within 60 days from the date that you receive the decision letter. So when you receive the decision letter from objection and you still don't agree with it, you want it to be heard further, you have 60 days from that date to lodge it in to the review, to the appeal section to go through the review tribunal. Is it clear? So what they do in the our legal section is they will review it. A submission will be prepared. It will be given to the Income Tax Review Tribunal. You will also get a notice, a letter, advising you when the Review Tribunal will meet, and then a decision will be made on that particular objection decision, whether they agree with the objection decision that was done to that assessment or it's changed. But if you still do not agree with it, you still have one more place to go, and that is to the National Court. Yes. So those are the avenues that are available to you. In the event you lodge your return, you pick up your assessment, you're not happy with it, when it comes to an amendment, if it's for salary and wage, you have, when you lodge your return, it is full disclosure of everything. We have 60 days, 6 years to amend it or 3 years to amend it. If you lodge in a request for amendment, we can also change it within that time also. If it's a salary and wage, it's 6 years. If it's any other tax, it's 3 years. Okay? But objection, if you lodge in your return, you're not satisfied with the assessment, you can lodge it 60 days from the date you receive that notice of assessment. Ensure that you also put your grounds of objection and lodge it in. Is it clear? When the decision is being made, if you still do not agree, you can take it one step further to the review tribunal. If you're not satisfied there, you can always take it to the National Court. Are there any questions? Yes.
I'm very sorry if I have to limit question time. I think the ACO's presentation is clear. The take on from this presentation is there is a process. There is a process in the IRC that if you disagree to the assessment that mipla working law small business lo you tax you think amino stret option em stop lo you lo object him, which she has gone through. So I think that is quite clear. Past time you meeting him, you make him assessment na by all someone him. So again, it can be quite technical, but the option is there for taxpayers. So one time this la thing me talk thank you thank you lo ako. Our last speaker for now. We've come to almost the end of our presentation or MSME general awareness in the last since we started on Tuesday and Friday now being the last day. In concluding or closing, we'll have the closing remarks from our Commissioner Services, Ms. Pauline Bray. Again, the IRC structure is in a way that we have the Commissioner General, which is Commissioner Sam Coim, and then we have the Commissioner for Services, which is Commissioner Ms. Pauline Bray, who would be closing now. We had Commissioner for Taxation addressed us when Commissioner Sam Loy earlier on. So we are privileged to have the commissioners here. So we have first-hand information with regards to our IRC. Is that correct? Our IRC. Commissioner Bray. Please, fight him hand.
Okay, afternoon. Thank you. Good to see you all. So you participate actively and productively since Tuesday, come Friday. So we like to thank you. Lo time you tool running all business na like you committee you yet lo display session lo so big thank you come to you. So on behalf of the Commissioner General and Commissioner Tax and the entire IRC staff who have also been here and sharing their knowledge and their experiences with you. I'd like to thank you for your participation and basically close the 4-day session. So also acknowledging all our stakeholders from the public and the private sector agencies who are here throughout the 4 days and providing a bit of awareness about their services and what they do so that all can help you running business, na keeping records, na appreciating how you need account come government. So thank you, Disla. So basically, the purpose of the awareness was to bring practical tax knowledge. So planetime mi plus small big talk na ideas na mi plan sa come down the practical level or how about you complete in this platform and then who do you submit it to and what does this form mean and all that. So I hope that you have gained a lot of knowledge and information to help you guide you in your business decisions. So I'll probably stop here and ask a few of you for like if you had to go home after today, maybe share one or two things that you think you will take with you and try and put it into practice, or some of the key things. So some past time you know clear and now you survey. So instead of missing up now closing, you helping me lo closing program. So anyone want to share? Okay, our lady in green, please. Kepas.
Thank you, Tro. Me, some 5 plan notes where all points where me kisim where me feeling awesome, but me take home. Now, in life, you miss awesome. There are positive and negatives, So I think by me pointing out all negatives past them. Negative, let me look him. Now, you play line law IRC, you play changing Payable, you play. Before there was nothing of the kind. So me plus a go na treatment me plus similar front desk am cold telephone call no gat. Or suppose me play front up, all talk this la person been saving you no more stop. So you can come next time or time come. So where is the continuation here? Kind of same, I'm all negative side. So now Lord's la positive side long em. You block sanapia. So presentation blue emi talking me I can now feel relieved. Lokam long office blue. Na talk one you. I mean you play presenting all kind all documents. This all documents in apply lo mi play kita. Empla mi play one. So suppose mi play no sawal wamla something. Emba mi play kam sana wanti you na you explain lo mi play. Now it's not something where you change over the time. So come next year, me can repeat him that's all. Change him maybe date blah me kind something or some. So today me looking more some me line plant is something straight. Now me talk thank you let's let new regime or new management system now you got. When now you come down straight to level blah me people now you touch him me talk thank you let's So one something me look along not me looking along Suppose this like something you've been stopped before. Now me plus the liling man me plus stop finish the next level. Na narpla presentable bla. Narpla presentable bla am to sem lo it's province you bam text you. Pampla making road and bridges. Time me plus stop the next level. PNG start the next level. That's a fact. So na me repeat me again. You bla present like now latest presentable you me. Emi explaining about something where Emi detailed to us. Lo mi plug it up by Savelo here. But suppose semi applicable to me. Na mi glong office blongam na mi to me like you explain. Hemba so mi over something lo explain ya. So you play no failing mi bla. So because you know explain him then. Mi bla poret lo come le you. So now mi plug it up and mi bla talk you like si text lo mi no ga through ya. I'm kind of same. So me talk thank you. Me believe was lo me mix and plant is something true. Me to thank you. Lo awa mig lo IPA na kam le you na okay this la process ya. And you put in maybe. Okay there's something like a process long You know convenience comes with a price tag. You may not have expecting you lo making over something. You mean tupla all man na walk about one time. Now something will come up all right. So me to thank you lo you apply IRC na you apply the first of its kind. I've been working for the last 33 years of my life. I have not seen anything like this. This is the first of its kind. First of its kind. Thank you very much. Me play whole persons la you play commissioner the you mean? Na you play commissioners responsible all other areas. You play can look in this la leki stuff inside la mipla the brim come out. So you help me play help you mean a country beam grow. Thank you.
Taken a couple of comments na feedback na. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Me no sababin appreciate my IRC law life blow me. I'm 54. Until after these 4 days. And I think coming from the periphery of this nation, Mibla too is the backside lig. I will now, with all my best from the heart, tell the people, lo place also we must now appreciate IRC. And I'd like to acknowledge from the heart the connections that we have with other stakeholders. It's like switching on a light in the dark. And we come back to my first words I said in this 2014 registration of a company. I now me believe one them. This la now you bla tu can look shavel lom you bla we been foul na krangi lig but you bla straight me bla. And in this special case, suppose part blow punishment. Thank you. Suppose part blow punishment you bla Some part of punishment, but you play kind special cases in our life application to this knowledge that we have learned. Exam team mi bla lik long this la have 2014 ikam naptete. And then we will all appreciate namibla miken to also I am very fortunate to represent the people back at home, to connect IRC with the people of Plestret. And we only know that when you get to the shelf, you can rice na tin fish, and you pay your GST. And now make looking also important, very important. And I'd like to acknowledge the organizing team that put together the other stakeholders also that made it happen for these 4 days. Finally, mi woklo sore tasol. Hard work you play work him. Na roads and bridges ya decision is tablo. Narablaol man. We mino hamamas. Only come when only simani blongol when only go work him decision. Tete brisi brook, roti bagarap, all people blue you mean oxim services. Narbla part lo way forward blue you mean lo come together, lo continue, lo dis la good lo work IRC work him. Send him policy if need be. Right igolo NEC. Na talking all. IRC come back na work him decision as to where we will put this money. And not the politicians. Sorry, me talk, thank you. So we should one politician lawyer, me apologize. But if it's for the purpose of enriching our people, and that Papua New Guinea must be the first richest black nation in the world, let the decision come back to the money makers and not the politicians. It's a sad scenario. Only Hamamas stop without doing anything. I'll stop here. And suppose you will start in this work IRC, since my opportunity to talk to a commissioner. Yeah, stop straight lawyer and please work in this line. If we need to make amendments, change some laws, now you may to work him decide. Let him all politician work him not something. But the money that people are putting things to, lo improving livelihood, lo elevating people from poverty to the next level. Let him decision come lo you and others stakeholders that now all stop. Why politicians? And I will be in prepare, suppose you bless straight him slating thing. 2027. I want to be part of the NEC to move that these decisions come back to IRC. Thank you very much.
Maybe last 2 hours. Thank you.
Excuse.
Thank you for your awareness program. My concern here is, you given the very simple plans to pay our taxes. My concern here is the invitees who has presented their products and services. They put many lollies on our plate. My concern here is with the IPA in a context of startup business. It's very costly for registration payments for IPA. And during the course of business, banks will chip some money out of that. And lastly, is the IRC going to take the big slice of the cake? So my concern here, can you advise your stakeholders to reduce their rates down? In that way, we are helping the business community. Thank you.
What you learned, learnings and all that.
Back one, maybe last one. Sorry, I'm conscious of the time. I am going to 4 o'clock now. Maybe stop na story more.
Thank you. Thank you. Just one short comment. The speaker before, the last speaker was alluding to the assessment of tax returns. Tax returns are done by accountants, and some of these accountants are very, very clever. And I think you guys need to improve or widen the scope of the assessment, because just purely making assessment based on the tax return is not good enough. You need a wider scope of information and knowledge, because some of the companies have been evading tax for such a long time because they are special consultant. These people are SMEs. They may pay some tax, or can be exempted from any form of tax, because I don't think their income is more than 200,000 a year. But I'm talking about the bigger companies. Just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm 4 o'clock now, so any burning one before we close it? Oh, there's a lot. Okay, I'll leave it to the staff on the ground to take the mic. You can up. All right, Lo, wait till like after 4, because I'm 4 o'clock, so.
Sorry, thank you through. Me topik ba thank you through la disla IRC. IRC lo miyet lo site do mi se Bushman. Mi play inopin understanding na mi pa register lo IRC since 2012 13 common tab. Mi pa inopin look one pakan presentation and first time lo mi. Even disla bos meriam siran am tala lay. Office permit play start close to but mi no shy lo disla IRC. Right now, lo here me like me got worry one time na me like go lo because me Bushman me past up lo island kind of say la siasi lo come and say solwara you pas am line lo bumongara area lo sinkim ship to ye me pa kat way lo come and say lo lay and a communication system network I mean so clear to mas me got one pa worry tas also me trauma hand because lo time supposed me pa abrushim this la date or mark or one kind date because you pa put him low one time na me worry lo this la me pa work a business outside lo city noka road lo car even balus tu noka me pa ron lo dingi na me pa stop lo bora lo mereng na morobe one way through by me pa ba come inside lo logi this la information one of something where you pa ba like lo me pa inap lo me like totok lo morobe but me must totok so you pa boss line too must understanding a certain some kind system where you can be in him. Suppose me pay no come lo time. By you pa kisi me lo court. Me pelas man by me ba hide there. How about me ba come loki this la information? And worry do me so. This you pay get to clear so. You pay can make him something clear. Me pa emo city line all stop. Sorry. Me pa plus man. You say hat lo tata. Papa no gini kain kan et there. So me worry lo this la something ta so na me like go. So na me talk savel this la.
Oh, give me a paiti mama. Okay, thank you. So I think by me closely, put some official remarks number 9, we can close him session. Thank you, all comments people are giving for those of you who were given the opportunity to speak. I was also here during the 4 days listening to some of your questions and comments. So I have some idea about some of your concerns and worries affecting your businesses. So at the IRC, we're doing some changes, some kind of reform, administrative reform, working law, improving this law requirements, mitla where all officer explaining to you law penalty, due date, now kind of form where you need to fill in them. So, by me sharing sampler, people got all plenty projects, 32 projects together. So, out of these projects, one pla or two pla projects, mitla work them, lo reduce him the amount of time by you filing GST and SWT tax return now. So at the moment you file it every month. But for now, we're looking at reducing it to quarterly basis. So you file only 4 times, and to reduce the form. So I think by just filing one pla annual reconciliation, Pastor. You just file one pla form in the beginning, talk seven mitla, like how many employees by you employ him, how much pla payroll do you, and then every quarter you file him salary and wage tax return. At the end of the year, you give him one pla annual reconciliation. So salary and wage was a kind. Now GST too, we're looking at reducing the time to file, so you only file quarterly. So that's under development. So maybe I think next year number, but I think Commissioner General make him some announcement. So thank you for your feedback. This Placanal Forum, yes, thank you. We are guilty of not coming out to the public earlier, and we're looking at ways to change that. So I appreciate your feedback. And giving me plus strong law. Continue to carry out more awareness. Because plenty time too, me pla work lo, kisi money bla all man to some, all man less to give me pla text to us. So, some pla guy no relationship issues are stop on time on taxpayers and IRC. But we're trying to change that and go out and be present among the community, carry out plenty awareness. So, as a result of that too, me pla work lo opening all office law provinces. So at the moment, we have offices in nearly all the provinces except Hela and Kerama, which Bampla opening before the end of this year. There are some new offices there. So we also have staff there who have access to our system. So if you are in any province, you go to the provincial capital or town here, na iba pa ni IRC office, all staff to all staff. They're fully equipped. They shouldn't run out of papers or no access to computer or vehicle. Look at that, something people are fully servicing all no stuff. So all not can give you any excuse law. So all not printing statement of account you because no got paper or printer no work. This like no got this like excuse. Should stop law provincial office permit law. Nara plus something online officer talk pinis or some QR code bambla putelo certificate of compliance so line like give you a contract all about download one app lo scan him code lo certificate of compliance lo confirming whether I'm valid or I expired or kind of stuff. And then another plus something taxpayer information kit. So all the information that you received since Tuesday will be in that kit, which Mipla hope lo launch him in next month. Time Mipla open him Nupla office lo Mipla and Mipla operate out of City Hall. Lo save him micro and small medium taxpayers lo City Hall office. Yes, samba isi lo you accessing lab. So some changes work lo Mipla work lo work him. So maybe slowly next year namad by looking some changes become kind of like penalties and all that. We have processes in place to help you. All officer talk if you are late in filing your returns or paying your taxes, you can also always enter into payment arrangements or lodgement arrangements. You explain him law why you not file on time. Now they will understand it and by agree law. One time you need to file, now one time you need to pay. So if you're penalized too, we have people call him penalty remission, which is on the fancy term just to talk. But people are also penalty blue you. But you give me a reason why people need to rousing. I'm all same line, we all talk now. I'm also implementing this plan. So he got all process stuff to help him you. So lo ending by me just sharing one blood story. He got one plan man, one play young plan man. Time I'm finishing school, I'm talk us. And one plan man, I'm so like lo change him or something. So time I'm graduate to school, I'm to me but wanna change him world. So I'm come, I'm trying best, like advocate, like change, one man, Mary, what lie, they need to change. So I'm trying, some play and convince him all, some play not to mass. Go, I'm go middle age, I'm look as I'm no some succeed law. Convince him was a village community blame or family blame or all mates blame or some group blame. So I'm come to middle age now, you know, I think must give me but
concentrate lo convince mal family blo mita so. Slow almost change in passing blow na waki some good plus something in life blow. So by the time I'm come to middle age, I'm working this line, trying, but plenty blow harim talk blame. So I'm come na I'm lapuna. I'm not got energy lo move round, so I'm stop la house tasola. Also waiting time blame. Now I'm thinking go back na time is started, I was really energetic and I said I'll go out and change the world. All teacher blow me asking me what do you want to do with I'm going to change the world. But me feel as changing plant is something. Go and a family to me no change him. So now me sit down like here and me look out and meeting him. Oh, I should have started with myself. Me should change him me yet. Passing blow me na attitude blow me na try me work him and write something. Before me gonna change him nana man Mary. But anyway, me sit down na me late finish. So lesson and now you can get the information. You're equipped. So you please come and do the right thing. Loside Lumipla. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the best over the weekend. God bless you, Pla, lol business ambitions, Pla. Now I want the family, Pla. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bray. You may fighting one plan, Ken. All right. You may come lara reblo for pla day na pinis all sem. One pla time Ken, me talk thank you all stakeholders blo yumi. Online law events and catering. Pasco events, Tapioca Delight, and we had the other one that did the catering for us. The presenters, not only from the stakeholders, but from the IRC as well. Thank you all IRC officer, come putting yourselves out here. Serimol save blue plateau that you plan him over the years na yumi game lol MSME community blue yumi. Thank you, Blomi Plolgetat, to the Commission for organizing such. Also, too, we had our friends from the National Sign Language that have been here. They have more or less performed the roles of MC and presenter throughout the 4 days. So you may talk. Thank you to Hilda and Claire for being part of this MSME awareness. Our viewers that had joined us virtually, Mipla talk thank you to all staff on Temipla for the last 4 days, not only in country but overseas as well. We had some following viewing from there as well. Mipla acknowledge him. All the presentations again each day recorded, uploaded. Use the electronic platforms to go and view. Most of the presentations will make it our business to edit him, PDF him, upload him, so you can download those as well too. I think that's all. Before you all go, we'd like to take a group photo for everyone. We will meet